Hey folks, this is Caleb with the Antique Book Collective, and I know I'm starting this a little different than usual with hi folks instead of hey everyone, but that's because this video is a little different than usual. So guys, I would like to apologize in advance. I've been meaning to make this video for over a year now, so I've been, again, meaning to make it. I've had the photos to make this video, actually, because I went to Goodwill Outlet and I took all these photos thinking about this video, but I never got around to doing it. So with that said, there's my apology, and now let me dive into things. So guys, this video is go out and start an eBay business, an entire eBay business with just Goodwill Outlet. Guys, Goodwill Outlet is not just there for people who want to sell designer jeans and find designer jeans for 5 cents a piece. This is for people who can do like all sorts of different businesses. Guys, Goodwill Outlet has such an amazing assortment of things. Like, I am saying Goodwill Outlet, so please know that I am talking about Goodwill Outlet, which is the bins, and not a normal Goodwill Outlets. Sorry, not a Goodwill average store, the normal retail stores where you have the shelving, all that sort of stuff. Goodwill Outlet, the bins, they have these big, ugly bins. Everything's piled high. Prices are dirt stinking cheap. The other stores, guys, you can definitely make money. I know of plenty of people that make money at these shops, but it is Goodwill Outlet, aka the bins, that you make the best possible money. That is what I have found. That is what a lot of people find. So oftentimes when I go to Goodwill Outlet myself, I go there and the only other people there, they aren't the people that you would see at a normal Goodwill store, the people who are like lower income, and this is like how they are able to afford the things that they need, because secondhand is the only thing they can afford. Goodwill Outlet, generally when I go there, it is generally people who are doing this as a business. I do not know why normal people don't normally go to this, but by and large, a lot of the people that I find at these places, all the people that I talk to, they are all doing this as a business. So that is something to keep in mind. These people are doing it because they've been doing it for years and they know that this is the very best spot, at least for them, to go shopping. For me, I don't actually go to Goodwill Outlet, the bins, all the time anymore. I used to go very, very often, but since I've been doing this for a few years, I have gotten very, 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 very picky on where I like to go for buying books, sourcing books. When I go to places, Goodwill Outlet, like, I can find, say, a dozen or so books that are worth selling, that meet my standards. My standards, guys, I try to have a floor of $45 oftentimes for a lot of these books. So if I'm not able to sell the book for $45, oftentimes I snub my nose at it and I'm like, no, peasant book, I'm not into you. And yes, I just did a weird voice for that. But guys, that is, for me, I am very picky with that sort of stuff. So with that said, though, there are lots of people who are not as picky, who are able to buy a boatload and a half of books from these places. Again, I'm very picky just because that's how I like doing the business. Goodwill Outlet also can be a little bit nasty inside. Believe it or not, I can't remember if it was my very first time or just one of my first times going to Goodwill Outlet. There were actually people wearing gas mask respirators, like full on, and they were gloved up. I mean, it was like, what are you doing? And I know, like, now I'm making this video and it's after the lockdowns, all that sort of stuff, where people wore masks, but this was before then. These people were wearing like full respirators, and I'm sitting here like, sir, I know it's not super clean in here, but that's a little excessive, and this building that we're in is not from like 1924, and there's not asbestos tiles falling on us. We're pretty good. I mean, my high school had it asbestos tiles falling on us, but it's not the case here. So tone it down a little bit. But that being said, I do, when I go there, I do bring Clorox wipes for once I get out. I'm like, whew, dirty. I mean, your hands will be covered in grime if you're doing this often enough, long enough. But with that said, though, guys, I just wanted to go through a little bit of a slideshow, if you will, with you guys and explain some things about businesses that you can do with Goodwill Outlet. So forgive me as I look down to do these things. It's me looking at these photos to make sure that I'm saying everything that I want to say. So first things first, guys, we have Luggage. Guys, there are so many people on eBay and elsewhere, especially like on like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, the more local side of things. So many people that sell luggage, used luggage. That is a huge market. You will not be making, so let's say this suitcase right here, let's say you buy it brand new for $150. You won't be selling it for $150. You'll probably sell it for, I don't know this, I don't do this business, but you could probably sell it for $25 all day long. You'll probably pay to get this, just roughly off the top of my head, you'll probably pay $5 for it or something like that. So you can make 5 times on your money, most likely, potentially a whole lot more. But there was a ton of suitcases at Goodwill Outlet when I went here. I would like to sort of advise you guys against specializing in just suitcases if you do go to Goodwill Outlet, because oftentimes there are not a lot of suitcases when I go there, but this time they had a whole lot. So if you guys have an everything store on eBay, which means you buy and sell everything that you come across, Goodwill Outlet can be a great way to just diversify what you come across. For me, since I do just books, I have never been to my Goodwill Outlet and not seen books there. In fact, so I believe they have like rows of 8 by 2, so 16, maybe it's not 8, maybe it's just, I think it's maybe 4 by 2, so I don't know, somewhere there. Might be, no, it's definitely not 8 by 2, my bad guys. I think it might be just 8 squares of rectangles, sorry, of 8 different things. Each one has at least 100 books in it, and generally when I'm there, sorry for the bad numbers in the beginning, generally when I'm there though, they have at least 2 bays of that, so that is 8 times 2, so 800 books plus 800 books, 1600 books. Generally that's a lot of books. Sometimes I've even been there and they've had 3 bays of books. Guys, when I see 3 bays, I am so excited. I get so many books when that's the case, because I mean, you're basically adding 50% to how many books you can choose from, so that's really stinking dandy. So sometimes there's a whole lot more of what you like to look for, sometimes a whole lot less. Whenever I go there though, guys, I would say there's at least 20 tables, probably more, sorry, not tables, bins of clothing. So if you guys want to do clothing as your eBay store, as your focus, all that sort of stuff, that could definitely be something good for you guys to do. So that is definitely an option. So again, back to the suitcases, that is a very viable business model. I have heard of plenty of people that do that. I have been friends with people that have done it at least for a short while. So with that said, on to the next thing. Here's just random odds and ends. For me, I have at my store probably 4 groups of these tables that are just random odds and ends. Some of it's kitchen stuff, cooking stuff, all that sort of stuff. Other times it's like stuff that you'll have in living rooms, all the different trappings that people will have. Some people like having these things, and sometimes you can buy just, say, the cables from all these different things. And cables, guys, there are people who have entire businesses just selling cables to all these different electronics, so that could be something worth doing. On to the next thing, just some more odds and ends. Nothing too exciting in here. I just wanted to get a picture to show you guys that sometimes you have bins of stuff that may or may not just be garbage. It's just sort of cleaner garbage. On to the next one, some more things. Guys, this one, as you can see, there's quite a few electronics in here. A lot of people will buy used electronics because let's say you have a stereo speaker and you need a matching one because you have this one, your other one broke, and now you can buy the matching one because you might have this matching stereo speaker or something along those lines. There's a lot of different things that you guys can find at these places. Personally, if you guys are going to sell this, I would personally recommend that you guys test these electronics out first, because no one likes buying an electronic and finding out that it doesn't work. You're going to end up refunding the buyer, and you'll probably have to refund all of the money if it doesn't work whatsoever, and they might give you a bad review. So be sure to test these things out. It's oftentimes that people buy these used things and they don't work, so keep that in mind. I don't know about the return policy for Goodwill Outlet for electronics that don't work, because I don't really buy electronics there, but that is something that could be viable for you guys to do if you buy something that doesn't work. With that said, we got another thing. As you can see, there was some Christmas wrapping in this one, and this was months after Christmas that I took these photos. So that is something that you can definitely come across as just some weird random garbage things. But I would like to have you guys look a little bit closer, because there are some neater things in these bins. There's some possible cookware. Is that a crib? I don't know for sure, but that brown wooden thing. But then in the background, guys, you see all those different bikes. Guys, those bikes are incredibly cheap for what you could probably resell them for. And honestly, if you reached out to the Goodwill manager at that location, if you guys have bikes at your location, you could probably be like, hey, I'll pay $10 per bike, or some unholy discount off them, but say, I will buy all of your bikes out, and you could go out and sell all those bikes individually on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, something along those lines. You could even have a garage sale or something along those lines and sell them all off all at once. It's basically whatever you guys want to do, but that can be a great way to make some money. On to this next thing, we just have some more interesting random things. A lot of stuff's mixed in. You have a flipper for swimming, you have a little stuffed moose, all these sorts of things. But guys, again, it's just a whole bunch of household items that people may or may not be interested in. I know of quite a few people that I saw on YouTube that have eBay businesses who specialize in doing stuffed animals. So Goodwill Outlet is a great place to get stuffed animals. So that is something that you guys could definitely do if you would like. On to the next one. This is just a thing of clothing. As you guys can see, it's just a few of the bins of clothing. So it looks like, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like it's only 3 wide. Sorry, 3 long, not 4. So forgive me for the bad numbers there. It was just going off of memory. But as you guys can see here in this next photo, we have books. This was a little slimmer of pickings on books than what I normally come across. Sometimes, most of the time, probably like 80% of the time, I can't even see the bottom of these bins because they pile these things so high. Like, I've been there sometimes, and this deep of books, you can't see the bottom. I've had it be this deep of books, and it's just like, oh man, would you look at this? I got so many options, and it's really fun to just tear through all those. Maybe tear is not the best word, seeing as it's books, but you understand, guys. But with that said, on to the next photo really quick. It's another bay of the books. This one, again, was rather empty. And on to the next one. At my Goodwill outlet, when you walk in on the right side, so this is where this photo is. This is on the right side. You have all the different furniture. Several of the Goodwill outlets I've been to have at least some furniture section. And guys, some Goodwill outlets will have no books. Some Goodwill outlets will have none of this, none of that, because some of them will have it so if they get any of this specific item, they'll ship it off to another Goodwill outlet to sell. So for me, personally, the best Goodwill outlet around me is actually the Goodwill outlet closest to me. I have another Goodwill outlet that's down in I want to say Milwaukee or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly, but that one has no books. They, I guess, send all the books up to the Portland location, and then I have another location in Vancouver which has some books. Oftentimes the books I get there are actually pretty good, so I do go there sometimes. Probably not as often as I should, but I do get some really good ones there. For instance, excuse me for a second. For instance, something that I get a lot at the Vancouver one are these Time Life Old West set books. I do not know why, but that specific Goodwill outlet for some reason gives me a lot of these Time Life ones. Of course, they charge me $2.29, or at least they did last time I was there. It's probably $50 now with inflation, but they charge me that much for those books. So I don't normally get a lot of those there because the price margin, it's just not quite there for me. I honestly could probably negotiate price down at this point because of how many things I've bought from Goodwill Outlet, but that is something that you guys could definitely look at. And I actually have a video coming out, or possibly out by the time this video drops, about having an entire business of just the Time Life books, and specifically the Time Life Old West books is what I really was talking about, but all the different Time Life books, guys. You can have an entire business of that. People love those Time Life books. I find that the Old West ones are the best sellers for me personally. I find that they are the easiest to sell, the easiest to find, all that sort of stuff. I haven't gotten any of the Civil War set ones yet. Honestly, I want to get them because I have a lot of people ask for them, but I just have not been able to find enough to make it worth my time just yet. Honestly, I should, but we'll see. But with that said, though, guys, back onto this image. As you guys can see, we have some chairs, a lot of matching chairs. People like buying matching chairs, guys. However, let's face it, selling chairs on eBay might not be the easiest thing out there. You can do local pickup, of course, but might be more of a Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace sort of thing. We have shelving in the back, we have tables, all that sort of stuff. Again, might be better to do local sort of things, but a lot of people, guys, go to Goodwill Outlet and recondition these things, or they upcycle or something along those lines. They make these things that are potentially ugly and they make them beautiful once more. Or sometimes they embrace the ugliness of these specific pieces of furniture and they make it look like it's the antique it is, because a lot of these pieces of furniture, guys, can be antiques. And I would also like to encourage you guys to look a little further in the back of this photo. You can see some picture frames. So guys, sometimes people will buy these picture frames just to sell picture frames, because picture frames can have a very good value. Other times the art piece within these things can be worth a chunk as well. I've heard some stories about people getting some classic artwork, or at least artwork that's worth a couple $100s from Goodwill Outlet. So it is definitely worth looking into. For me, I do not specialize in that. I do not know most of the artists. I know I've sold several books about all the different artists, but end of the day, I'm not a specialist in this. I am not a art connoisseur. I'm not really even a fan of art in general. So that is a little bit of a hazard for me that I try to avoid, but it is definitely something that you guys can do a business in if that interests you. With that said, here's another photo of the furniture area. As you guys can see, some couches, sofas, all that sort of stuff. That is something that they sell at my shop quite often. It's actually funny because a lot of the booksellers at my place that go to my Goodwill Outlet we'll go through everything, shop through everything, find the ones that we want, stick it all in our cart, or carry them all around if you can't find a cart. Guys, my Goodwill Outlet, there's never enough carts. But we'll be sitting there, and some of them will actually go over and sit on the couches, those Goodwill Outlet couches, which I would not sit in. But they sit there and they wait for the people, the employees, to take the carts away and bring in the new books, because there's no point going through the same stack of books 15 times, but that's something that does happen quite often. And then again, you guys can see some more furniture in the back. That can be something that's really good to recondition or just sell yourself. Problem is, it might take a little bit of storage space, might take a little bit of trailer space as well to get it out of there, so that is something to keep in mind. Here's one more shot of what they have at my Goodwill Outlet for furniture. As you guys can see, there is some quite pretty tables, so if you guys wanted, you could do an entire business just of tables. But yeah, lots of options. So with that said and done though, guys, that's all the images I have for you guys today on that. So I hope that this was inspirational for you guys. I hope it wasn't too terribly boring. Honestly, I know that it is a very specific thing to just my Goodwill Outlet on that one trip. A lot of the things that I did go over are things that they oftentimes have at my Goodwill Outlet. However, they don't have it all the time. So that is something for you guys to keep in mind. That is something to have as a disclaimer. So don't depend on them just having, say, boots or something like that. They actually have an entire section at my Goodwill Outlet of just shoes, but the time I took these photos, they didn't have that section. And every single time I had been there up until that time, they always had shoes, but for some reason they didn't have shoes that time. So if your entire business revolves around selling shoes from Goodwill Outlet, that could be a little bit of a red flag. For me, I have never not had books at my place. In fact, I've never not had it be like 2 bays of books. I always have quite a few books to go through. I want to say there was one time I had 4. It was the best thing ever, guys. I was like, 4? What am I going to do with that? It was a struggle to actually keep ahead of the employees, because the employees kept on moving the tables around. I'm like, no, I gotta run to get these books, mine. But that is something that does happen, guys. Sometimes there's more of what you're interested in. Sometimes there's less of it. Sometimes there might not be any of it. So that is something to keep in mind again. And in addition to that, there are other things that they sell at these Goodwill Outlets. For instance, they have boatloads of DVDs at my specific one. They actually have an entire separate area where they have all that stuff. I don't really go there because, a lot of people have already gone through those, but lots and lots and lots and lots of things, guys. So you guys, if you have an everything store, Goodwill Outlet is an awesome opportunity for you to go. And in addition to that, you can also get boatloads of books, boatloads of clothing. Those are the things that I find they have the most often. But of course, there are other things as well that can definitely be nice if you have an everything store. That way, you can just always have a nice selection of all these different things. And when you have a nice selection, you have a nice diversity of your stuff. That means you'll be able to get sales from all these different things all the time. Whereas with me, just with books, I'm only getting sales from readers or people that are trying to fill up a shelf with some pretty books, just home decor at that point. That's sort of limits how many people I'm selling for, whereas in everything store, you have a lot more people to sell stuff to. So with all that said and done though, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it got you guys thinking, if nothing else. And if you guys haven't started an eBay business just yet, I hope this was able to push you guys over the lip just to go to Goodwill Outlet and look around and think about these things. Guys, when I go to these places, I have my phone open, I have my eBay app open, I am typing these things in to see what I can sell them for myself. I'm not going to buy something and hope that I can make 30 bucks. I'm going to look it up and see that I can make 30 bucks on it before I buy. So that is something that I recommend you guys do if you're brand new to it. And honestly, I've been doing it for years and I still do it. So it might be worth doing if you guys have been doing this for years even. So with all that said and done though, again, I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please be sure to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment, all that sort of stuff. I go over my entire eBay business, all that sort of stuff, so I hope that you guys check that out. And if you would like to learn more, I also have some more videos, so you guys can check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.